local city news. There's a lot of actually movement of what companies are doing and where there's opportunities, and that's always very exciting. So Salesforce, Marc Benioff, they just had Dreamforce this week. Leave in the comments below, did you go to Dreamforce? There was a stat of how many people went to Dreamforce. It was a lot smaller than before. They cut back big time. It was a combination, I'm not sure, of they're getting back into the conference mode, which a lot of people wanted to do. Certainly recession risks, certainly budget cuts from these startups. But there's a lot less people than before. But it was still cool to see. I mean, it still took over San Francisco. The parties and the events were still a lot of fun. There's still a lot of activity, a lot of energy there. But did you go to Dreamforce? What did you think of Dreamforce? Have you gone there before? And how did you compare this time versus before? At least we have it back, and that's a good thing. But here's the interesting part. Salesforce founder and CEO Marc Benioff has long made a show of his love for San Francisco. That is true. He used to campaign it a lot. And then what's interesting, so here's the numbers of Dreamforce, which is pretty wild, right? 40,000 attendees for Dreamforce this year versus historically it was 170,000 people. Pretty stark change. And at the same time, a lot of things has also changed, right? He's no longer, they're subleased a lot of their space, even at Salesforce Tower, which is a building that they don't even own themselves. So it's fantastic marketing on their end. But the aspect of, in the past, being very active in the local community has certainly changed. And it's not entirely his fault of doing this, right? Like the city's not really helping themselves with all the different things that they're doing. They're not taking pay cuts to be able to help the city do these different things. They've been absorbing a lot of the money that the tech industry had provided to them over the last several years. And now it's become a shell of itself and it's become a very difficult thing to get out of. And so the question ultimately is now these articles of, okay, all these wealthy billionaires that there were so proponents of, are so proponents of the city and things like that. And you can see like people are tracking everything from what he says. San Francisco tweets, right? In the past, he was extremely vocal about the different things happening. Now he doesn't want to talk about it. Doesn't even want to mention it. He talks about Hawaii more over COVID than San Francisco. So like you see these different things happen. And it's such a challenging thing. I mean, he's been a big proponent. At the same time, the city's not really cooperating or doing as much as they could possibly do to really change this. I mean, I think in general, as a macro, and I don't think it's too outrageous, safety is number one. Number two is the homeless population, like what can be done around that. And then that just kind of opens it up big time. I mean, so many people are leaving San Francisco because of those core reasons. If you're able to take care of those, safety, as in less crime, punishing crime, homelessness, then things will do a lot better in that city. And then you can get more business to come back. There are businesses that love to come back if it makes sense for them, especially given it's so much cheaper now to get commercial real estate there. So, but they gotta step up. They gotta do what is needed, but they're not. And if they don't, they're gonna keep going the direction that they've been going. Next, let's talk about some other news. Google revamps historic building in downtown San Jose Transit Village. We're going to see a lot of these happening, right? It's either going to be tear down if it's not a historic building, or it's going to be renovations. They're going to continue to take advantage of some of the infrastructure that is already there. And Google, with all their money and opportunities, they can do all these different things of just converting these maybe factories. I remember there's a walnut factory, or there used to be a walnut factory in the lofts in downtown San Jose. So that's been pretty cool that they gutted that in the past, redid that, and now it looks completely different and it looks quite nice. So we're going to see a lot more of this progress, a lot more of these renovations and developments happening throughout the years, especially as Google Village continues to be progressing. Next, big transit-oriented complex pushes ahead in South San Francisco. City approvals clear pathway for new offices, shops, restaurants next to BART station. So this has been somewhat overlooked in terms of more development happening in South San Francisco. So while San Francisco itself, and South San Francisco is not the same, but while San Francisco is dropping lots of workers, South San Francisco has been booming with lots of employment. And what is out there? Mostly biotech. And so you have that. And then, but you also have infrastructure continues to be built. So near downtown South San Francisco, I think pretty much walking distance, you have the BART stations, the Caltrain stations, and they're going through a lot of renovations and a lot of projects there. I mean, take a look at this. This is an addition of 2.8 million square feet of office, research, and lab space. These are massive projects that are continuing to be built. And most of the times, most of these builds are always going to be mixed use spaces now. That's just the best use of space. You see that all over the Bay Area. You just have apartments, either rentals or condos up top. You have some retail on the bottom. It's convenient. It's easy. People like that. It's a good use of space too. So it's not just a waste of just a restaurant and nothing above it. So those are all the new ways of how they're developing things that still sells and rents well, but also can best use that space. And especially given that they're going to be near transit stations, their density is a lot higher, as in they do not have to put as much parking space. And so that's why you will continue to see a lot of these developments happening around transit stations, and investments continue to take place. So you can see where the location is. Oyster Point is, I believe, a little bit on the east there. And so you have these opportunities, and they're going to continue to grow. So even though the weather isn't the greatest in South San Francisco, but location-wise, very, very prime, I would suspect a lot of growth there. And that's one of the places that I'm extremely bullish with moving forward in the next decade of places that will do very well. Next, Bay Area Biotech, boom, nets nearly $400 million across trio of life science deals. These deals are still happening, regardless of what you hear about the economy, regardless of all this kind of news. Acquisitions, selling, moving of life science buildings, of lab space is going to continue to happen over and over again, especially in the Bay Area. There's just so much opportunity in that arena right now. And so because of that, there's so much capital being raised, so many bets being done, and so much more need of lab space. So that industry has been booming. So if you've been in tech and maybe you're looking at a transition, this is a great opportunity to continue to look into to see if biotech will be of interest. There are a lot of similar problems. You can be someone in math, you can be computer science, you can be in data science, you can be in analytics. A lot of the same things that they're using now in terms of their research and in terms of their bets that they're making. So very fascinating to see, but you're going to continue to see this happen. Next, Zynga announces move, designates smaller San Mateo office as new HQ after decamping from San Francisco. So what's interesting, I don't know, many of you may have not even known that Zynga still exists, but Zynga continues to exist. They actually have continued to do just fine. They're still a publicly traded company, but that huge office that they had in San Francisco, I still remember it because that was a very big staple of San Francisco during the heydays of Facebook and Zynga with their games of Farmville. But now they moved down to San Mateo. But it's interesting too, right? They still moved to a physical office in the Bay Area. Instead of just buying or renting a much smaller, cheaper office in San Francisco, they decided not to. Follow how these people are doing the money. Follow these trends. Next, Stanford University unit grabs big Bay Area apartment complex. More than 700 units are involved in the deal. So many of you know or don't know, Stanford is actually a huge landlord in Palo Alto. And they continue to gobble up the space, whether it's for their professors. So they have deals if they're like, they work at Stanford. So there's always programs and deals that they have there, which is very interesting. They also have obviously lots of students that continue to come. They have tons of space and they have tons of money. So they continue to make these deals, which is very fascinating, right? Like acquiring a 759 unit complex. How much does this complex cost? This costs, is it $125 million loan? If it's 750 units, let me see. In the East Bay, they were already charging like $500,000 per unit, something like that. So here, if it's on this side, my guess is maybe $700,000 per unit. Let me see. Let me see if we can find exactly how much this was worth. The assessed value of the buildings involving was 35 million. For the one thing, 125 million loan that was issued far exceeds the assessed value. See, they were talking about seeing these other buildings that are bought for $580,000 per unit. All the Palo Alto point to value, yeah, $440 million. See, others will put this into a $600 million range. So that's kind of my estimate. I was like, maybe it was 530 million plus, because that would be like 700,000 per unit. But these would probably be, so they didn't actually disclose this, but they're guessing it's probably $600 million range. That means it's equivalent to about 800,000 per unit. Incredible, right? $600 million deal. They didn't even mark that, roughly, potentially, of 700 units, 759 units. So they're continuing to gobble up. You think that's a lot of money to Stanford? That's not. If you look at their endowments, you look at their books, that's not a lot of money for them. So they're continuing to gobble up, to continue to grow their campus, especially for their professors. That is likely the reason why they made this deal, and they will continue to eat that up. They actually are a decent buyer of single-family real estate too. And so if you think that Palo Alto prices can decline a lot, that's part of the reason why it probably cannot, because you have a big player, which is a giant institution, that will be your flooring. So if prices drop too much, do you think they have a shortage of money? The answer is no. They have tons of money. They will be buying things in masses if there's even any slight of decline. So it's a very interesting proposition. Hence why Palo Alto's market continues to do very well, regardless of what happens, because you have a institution there that will be your stopgap of buying properties. Very interesting. Not many people know this, and very few universities have this kind of power, working with the city and having that connection, being so tied, but very secretly gobbling this up. Most do not know how much Stanford actually owns in terms of Palo Alto, but now you have a small glimpse as to what they have been doing, and this is going to be happening over and over. Next, Choice Sunnyvale site is grabbed by veteran Bay Area developer. Property is located in one of Silicon Valley's hottest spots. You may have seen this as you've driven by 237. So you have the Google campus. Look at this though. You have Google. This is the one. This is the one that you may see. This is the one next to when you're about to get on 101. So 101, 237. You have a building, and then there's usually, I think, like I love API or something. I think that was what was labeled there. I don't recall what was there. If you're working on a Google campus and you know, drop in the comments below what that says. I think there's some post-its like I love APIs or something like that. Or I don't think it's I love Google, but I think I love APIs. But anyways, there is this other building next to it that's by Daydream's using it, Silk Road's next to it, Advanced Microwave, but all around it's already Google. So why did this developer want to buy this space? They want to buy this, and they bought it in all cash, likely to eventually tear this down, make a brand new one, and then Google can then come in and potentially take it. So that's probably the renovation move that these developers are making. They're still making it today, so that you can see like the value add plays that these people are doing when it comes to sizes at this amount, right? This is $28 million for the 2 building properties. I mean, how much do you think this even rents for? Probably not that much relative to 28 million, but the fact that they're probably going to be using going to completely change the size of it and rent it to a super class A big tech company, and that's likely the move. Thank you for watching this short on my YouTube channel. For more shorts, go ahead and click here. For more live streams, you can go ahead and click here. I'll see you in the next one.